Hey, everybody. I am Steve Alexander, Dr. A. This is the award-winning RotoWire Fantasy Basketball Podcast, sponsored by Underdog Fantasy. I'm Doc. That's Bob Nastanovich of Pavement, all-around good guy, fantasy hoops head, and one of my buddies. He's going to tell us all about...
I miss you, man. I've never been on an award-winning podcast.
Well, you are now, and we're going to talk about basketball and brokers tip records right after this. All right, Bob, here we are. Thanks for coming on. Thanks for coming on. It's been a while. Tell me, well, first of all, I'm going to tell the people you were in a band called Pavement.
Still am technically for a few more months.
The tour.
I guess I will be forever, Steve. But yeah, no, I'm forever associated with Pavement. And Pavement, for your listeners' purposes, actually has some pretty sick fantasy sports fans in general, especially sort of the main guy that wrote all the songs. He's not only hardcore, but I would consider him like a proper fantasy champion. I mean, I think he's won so many leagues.
Yeah, people call me a fantasy expert, but I consider Malcolmus to be more of a fantasy expert than myself because, yeah, I do it for my job, but I mean, that dude wins every league he's in. I have a question for you.
He's lucky. He is lucky.
Did he show up for our draft in the Rock and Roll League this year?
No, he did not. In fact, I didn't either last year, and I just looked at the draft results, which obviously it's been a desperate season for my team. Kind of your classic story of like bad picks and injury riddled. But no, he definitely was not there. He did not. But last year I wasn't a part of it, and I lost in the final. So, really, it's the kind of year where auto picking didn't really hurt you that badly.
Well, and I have a feeling he's probably set his cue, but it's funny because Brian Rosenworcel and I were talking yesterday, and he goes, dude, how is Malcolmus not even at our draft? And his team is like running away with our Rock and Roll League. So Malcolmus is easily in first. I was in second. I beat you like 3 weeks ago, and then I got...
you're welcome.
I got smoked last week or the week before last, and then I got beat again the following week on that 2-game week with the in-season tournament. Kind of took away some of the momentum I had going. Wemby only played 1 game that week. That kind of killed me. But dude, that Rock and Roll League, we've been doing that for probably 15, 16 years. That's a good league. There's a lot of, people in that league. There's no money involved. Everybody just does it for the love of the game, but they're just all about it.
It's all about the honor. It's all about the classic. But really, if you look at Malcolmus and his auto pick, he got Terry Rozier in the 9th round. So sometimes it works out.
He got he had the number 1 pick. So he did the one. He got Jokic, and then he got Kyrie on the way back, which
it's a great. It's sort of whatever. He's got a target on his back. We'll take him down. In fact, I've got like right now, my whole team's going to kick into high gear in 2024 because obviously, I guess we'll get into it, but I'm expecting a healthy Bam, who I just in sort of an ill-advised manner, I traded Domas for Bam. But really, what it was is when your team's bad, then you lean towards being you sort of throw your hands in the air and you realize that you're just going to like have a lot of 2 and 7 and 3 and 6 weeks. So you decided to suddenly build a very cool team. And I watched a game where Domas was mic'd up, and I didn't like the way he was bossing around his fellow Kings. And so I immediately traded him for Bam. And I've been watching the Heat a lot. They're a very fun watch. A lot of lovable guys, including, of course, a guy that Jaime Jaquez Jr. Yeah, he's basically in the Rookie of the Year conversation. He'd be a big number from an odds perspective, but really what's amazing about him as a rookie is he's kind of reminds me a lot of Malcolm Brogdon's rookie season, in that he's every bit very much a man. He's not a rookie, and he plays fourth quarter crunch time. He's basically become an incredibly valuable piece on a very deep and good team. And he delivers almost every night. So he's been a surprise. So I watched them a lot, and I didn't realize that Bam's hip contusion was going to develop. And that must be one heck of a bruise. I mean, he might not play until next year.
Yeah, out indefinitely.
Which is bad.
That's kind of scary, especially since you traded Domas.
I mean, I expected him to be out for 3 games.
Yeah, I thought so too.
So, anyways, bummer. But
you were talking about building a fun team when all hope is lost. That's sort of the philosophy I've taken in fantasy hoops for the last 5 years. I just want the most fun team that I can have out on the court.
I've noticed that.
I try to always have all the fun guys, and I don't even, if I win, I win. If I lose, I lose. But at least I'm going to have a hell of a lot of fun watching my guys out there on the court.
Yeah, no, same. I mean, my team is just like guys that I just kind of think are awesome to watch and seem like that they're thoroughly cool. And I mean, and keep in mind, this is the biggest mistake I made in the draft is I was unaware, and I should have asked you, because you're actually an active commissioner who actually pays attention, because a lot of commissioners are like, they log in once a month. But I didn't realize when I took Ja, I thought he would be IR eligible. And then when I found out the day after the draft that he was just the big O for out, and I couldn't do anything with him, I couldn't really dump him. And he's my local superstar. I live 2 hours away, and I go to a handful of Grizzlies games a year. And one thing about the Grizzlies being dreadful, and just you couldn't really handpick worse injuries for the Grizzlies, in that Steven Adams was really playing incredibly well when he got hurt. I mean, I've got a buddy who's just a sick Grizzlies fan, and we thought that Adams at that point really deserved to be the team's MVP, even with Ja and Bane on the team. So he went, and then I was at the game where Brandon Clark hurt himself, and there's no timetable for his return. It's an endless Achilles. That's an incredibly athletic player who's a pain to play against. And the loss of those two giants, and then now, of course, sitting around having to wait for Ja, has been a bit of a disaster.
And don't forget Marcus Smart.
Smart will come back. I think the key to that team, I wouldn't rule them entirely out of the bottom end of the playoffs, in that I can see them winning like 10 out of 15 or 15 out of 20 if Smart and Ja get along. I think
I think they will.
I think they will. I mean, I think just like I think of like the ultimate teammate for a guy like Ja. I think of like Russell Westbrook, who knows? I mean, obviously, he went to Murray State, which is 20 miles up the road. It's almost been a personal blow, all the chaos that's gone on with Ja, because one of my best friends is just really an over the top, almost kind of in a delightful way, like a child, like Ja fan, like has his rookie jersey, has tons of Ja. So like when Ja got in all that trouble, it was like truly heartbreaking, for my buddy Josh. I mean, so we'll hope for the best, but as you know, and there's so many kind of blood curdling news reports about NBA veterans who are in media now, like worrying for his life, and like suicide watches and stuff like that. So, anyways, it starts a game before we thought that he was going to start up here in Atlanta. But because of the play-in tournament and the rules, I guess that they're going to play his first game's against the Pelicans, I think on the 21st. But we'll see what happens. But I expect my fantasy team, which sits in 12th of 12, to sort of roar into 24 like the Memphis Grizzlies. Expect some shocking turnarounds.
Well, I'll tell you what. While we're talking about Memphis, people are worried about Jaren Jackson Jr. getting off to a slow start this season. His fantasy ranking has been kind of low. December 1st, he had a 4-point game with 5 fouls, 14 minutes. But since that game, he scored 37, 24, 21, 41 points last night, 6 triples. He's blocking, he's stealing. He's starting to look like Jaren Jackson Jr. again, just in time for Ja to come back. And I kind of think when Ja does come back, it's going to open up lanes for Jaren Jackson Jr. and Desmond Bane to not have to work so hard for everything they get. Because those two guys are carrying that team on their back right now. And that's not an easy thing to do, especially if you weren't ready to do that coming into the season.
There he is. Hey, Steve.
Hello.
You there? Yeah, you just you did one of those things where I think it was about 8 seconds where the internet kicked off. So I don't know
me just frozen.
Yeah. So I mean, I
was just talking about Jaren Jackson Jr.'s last 4 games have been fantastic, and he's blocking shots again. He's hitting threes.
Yeah, I heard that.
People are worried about him, but I think when Ja comes back, he's going to clear a lot of lanes for Jaren Jackson Jr. and Desmond Bane to not have to work so hard for everything they get and carry that team on their back like they have been.
Yeah, I mean, they could be good if they're anywhere close to healthy. Not obviously, they're not going to get back those 2 big pieces, Adams and Clark. But there's enough there. I think they'll trade. I think that they'll trade Kennard. I mean, Kennard has value to a lot of teams that are definitely in the playoffs. I've heard that rumored for a few months, and really one trade I'm excited about that I'd love to see happen is I'm a Hawks fan, and I've been following them very closely this year and been to a couple of games, and they're not right. And I hate to say it, I went to UVA, and he's currently got a minor injury. Is that DeAndre Hunter continues to be a source of frustration, and I feel like he would benefit from being dealt. And then I've heard them wanting to get Siakam, who I love, and he's on my team. And the Raptors are struggling more than I thought they'd be. And it would be I could see Siakam being a fantastic fit on the Hawks, kind of like exactly one thing that they need. So, what are your thoughts on that? I mean,
that would be amazing. Now, I know you and Steven went to University of Virginia, and that's where DeAndre Hunter went. And DeAndre Hunter has been a source of frustration for Hawks fans worldwide since he came on board. He looked really good there for about a 3-game stretch early in the season. I thought we had turned the corner. The whole Sadiq Bey thing, him being in the middle of it, was making it
weird.
Interesting.
He's good. He can be good. I mean, and I saw one game where they scored 86 in the first half. I saw it live against the Pacers, which was the franchise record, and they were ahead. I think it was 86-73 at halftime.
Yeah.
And the Pacers scored 87 in the second half, or 85. And whatever, it was 157-152 in the end. And Bogey did the same thing that he did last night. He just went on some sort of barrage of threes. But that's going to happen twice a month, and they still didn't win last night. I mean, so you've got one guy just completely going off. And they've lost both games. Both games where Bogey's gone nuts. They've lost both games.
Yeah, Bogey hit 10 threes last night and scored 40 points.
But how do they lose? How do they lose with a healthy Young, a healthy Murray, and Bogey going for 40? They lost. I mean, that's
well, Trae got ejected, I think, and then
in the third quarter he got ejected. Yeah,
and then the whole Trae Dejounte thing. I mean, They never seem to both ball out on the same night.
They don't. Yes, one or the other.
Don't feel like people love playing with Trae. And
is that your feeling? Yeah.
I'm not saying Trae's the problem or the answer, but the Dejounte Trae thing is not really working out. And I'm with you, dude. If they could add Pascal Siakam to that team, and then we get his name is Jalen Johnson.
Yeah, I'm not a fan, but
you don't like Jalen?
I mean, the skills are there, but I just said, yeah, at this point, I mean, I think he can be great. The raw potential's there. I think they should definitely keep him. And he's the kind of guy that you watch him play and you do worry about his health. Just the way he plays. I think he'll be a very good NBA player.
Yeah, I think why am I struggling?
But he's a no D guy on a team with no D guys. I mean, there's not a whole lot of D going on.
Well, Dejounte plays D.
Dejounte plays D. So, I mean, and the thing is, DeAndre Hunter obviously went to the most defensive oriented.
Okay, Bob. Well, you are now frozen up on me. I'm sure you'll be back in just a second. There he is.
Yeah, we did. So yeah, basically, DeAndre went to the most successful defensive basketball programs of my lifetime. I mean, and almost disturbingly so. Like college basketball elitists, particularly those that played for Duke, like to equate watching Virginia basketball to watching paint dry. Perhaps because we beat them, 61-52 too often. But I mean, I can't. Yeah, DeAndre Hunter. I mean, obviously one of the reasons why he was an attractive draft pick in the middle of the first round was for D. I don't know. I just think he clearly needs a change of scenery, and then he just might not ever be anything but a NBA chip that keeps getting moved because the tools are there. But he doesn't seem to perform well, at least for the Hawks, and more disconcertingly, the current edition of the Hawks.
Well, I'm going to go ahead and disagree with you. I think Jalen Johnson is going to be a monster. I'm really sad he got hurt. I feel like he was just getting ready to turn it on. Although getting him out of the way did clear up the Sadiq Bey, DeAndre Hunter thing. But I'm with you. Let's try to move Hunter and get Siakam in here. That would be incredible. I'm going to do this underdog ad real quick, and then we're going to talk about brokers tip records, and then we're going to dive straight into all things NBA.
Perfect.
Freestyle right after that. Underdog Fantasy is the number one platform for NBA best ball and DFS player pick'em contests. If you haven't tried Underdog yet, new Underdog users receive a first-time deposit bonus up to $100 and a free 6-month subscription to RotoWire with promo code RWNBA. That's promo code RWNBA. Visit UnderdogFantasy.com or download the Underdog app today and use promo code RWNBA to claim your free RotoWire subscription and deposit bonus.
I'm going to do that. I've never heard of that one.
Oh, it's fun. It's just over under props.
Yeah, that sounds perfect for me. It's always nice. Obviously, for years I've been doing advanced deposit wagering and horse racing, and now in sports betting. I think I've exhausted every introductory bonus program known to man. So thanks for turning me on to a new one. That's UnderdogFantasy.com.
Yep, and it's just an app on your phone. And
perfect.
Look for the little chili peppers next to the guys. It's like triple odds and stuff. And then you can do a $1 5-game parlay to win $100. And
I got to tell my friend Kevin Guthrie about that too. That's his jam.
They're tough.
Kevin, right? He'll send me a screenshot at least twice a week. He'll hit some parlay that costs like $1.25. That's got, Asian basketball game. You know what I mean? Like, he's gotten his pet team that he's obsessed with is Young Boys. I believe they're the Swiss Champions League entry.
Young Boys.
Yeah. I saw the name like 2 months ago when I was. I think they play today. Actually, I think it might be the start. No, it's the last of the first round part before the elimination of Champions League. But yeah, no, I saw Young Boys like 6 weeks ago, and I was like, oh, weird. Like that's kind of a strange name for a soccer team comprised of adults. And of course, then 10 days later, Guthrie's like, Young Boys are my guys. I'm like,
so awesome,
all right, dude. And and week after week, he somehow gets lucky with them. But now I'll definitely look up UnderdogFantasy.com. Thank you, because I'm sick, Steve. I'm very sick.
I have been, I've been fighting this. I've had the 3-month cough, and it resulted.
Oh no, I'm not that kind of sick. I'm Underdog Fantasy sick. No, I'm good.
Okay. Well, I've been fighting off
been,
this cough and lost my voice full blown like 2 days ago. It's barely back.
Whoa! You should see. I suffer from cough drop addiction. I recommend it.
I should probably look into that. What cough drop should I be?
I mean, my main jam is the Ricola sugar-free ones that are herb and something else.
Is that like
actually in Pavement with the screaming? Yeah. The sugar-free ones, they're great. You can get them anywhere. And but I went through, obviously in Pavement. I realized sort of even this morning that it's strange to be somebody who's most known for screaming. And I thought that I could parlay that into maybe some sort of thing where I could get
a deal.
Ricola sponsorship. Like, yeah. I mean, wouldn't it be like a dream come true to be like just screaming in a Ricola commercial? Then like, because sometimes I have 2 to 4 Ricolas in my mouth during those concerts. And alas, I made several opportunities throughout the year to drum up my adoration of Ricola and their products. And even had one guy that I didn't ask, like sending Ricola stuff. And unfortunately, that dream did not come true. But otherwise, I'd be sending you a case of Ricola products.
Are you like a chipmunk? Like, were you hiding were you tucking the Ricolas
just
away?
Like they used to do with like tobacco packets, like
yeah,
hidden between the cheek and gum, and several would fly out, but yeah, they're dark brown. Yeah, they'd be basically like when you entered Europe in the 90s and you had to stash small packets of hashish in various parts of your mouth in order to get into certain countries. I was doing the same thing in a very legal fashion with Ricola.
Okay. All right.
Surely you've carried illegal drugs into countries in your mouth and other orify.
If I went to other countries, maybe, but I try not to leave Dahlonega at this point.
You stay in the basement because that's your safety zone.
Yes,
or the attic. You're in the attic. You're in the.
I'm in my mom's attic, and
that's
I'm never
awesome.
leaving.
Is that a signed Doncic jersey?
It is not signed, but it is a Luka jersey. This is Dominique Wilkins.
Whoa. He's got a Dominique Wilkins sneaker.
Game worn shoe against the Knicks.
Worn. That's badass.
This is one of my most prized possessions in the entire.
Oh, you have seen
collection.
That before, yes.
The autographed Pavement.
Yeah.
License
Let me see that again. Hold that up for a second because I have to forge a lot of these guys' signatures. Whoa, you got that. That might be the best Malcolm signature I've ever seen in my life. Standard Westie. I mean, that's proper effort. I mean, he doesn't even do an M anymore. It's just like I mean, he's whatever. You
wrote Cindiana.
Yes, Bob. Yeah. It was in a particularly good mood. That was in Atlanta when we saw each other in 2010. Yes. Which I'd like to add was the best show of that year, because to get a pep talk from Dr. A pregame, it's all you need.
I'll tell you that was one of the best nights ever for me. You talk about like little kids, your buddy being like a little kid with this whole Ja Morant thing, which reminds me, like, if your buddy's that devastated about Ja Morant, like, how do actual little kids feel about it? It's pretty. I
mean, badly, because this is one of those unique players, sort of in a Barry Sanders in Detroit kind of way years ago, that is so beloved in the city that he positively affected the economy of Memphis. I mean, So hopefully, I'm not giving up on him. You know what I mean?
Well, I don't think you can. I mean, he's been away from the game for so long. He's got so much money. Like, there's no reason for him to be messing around with any of that stuff.
Yeah, no, it's crazy. Yeah, from a logistics standpoint, you can't really, nobody can really begin to understand it. But I think it's just like, I'm not really sure if you have, but I just think it seems like his dad is an issue. That's personal. So there's some sort of personal thing, to kind of want to be attracted to this sort of thug vibe. I can't really figure it out, but it obviously is doing him no favors in any way, shape, or form. And the main thing is that, I was present for his game when he scored 52 or 53 against the Spurs, which is the franchise record. And I've seen him several times. He loves basketball, so I think if a lot of guys like that, we've seen it in NBA history. You take away their basketball and it just equals bad news, So hopefully, I don't think everybody roots for Ja. In fact, a lot of people, I think, have a very negative impression of him. But I think that hopefully, I know Memphis and their fans will embrace him, and hopefully, at least at the start, he's 75% of what we're used to seeing, and then over the course of a handful of games, a dozen games, starts to really click, because he is spectacular to watch. And it is a good team and a fun team, and the coach, Taylor Jenkins, is an excellent coach. So hopefully, they'll move in the right direction. We've talked a lot about them, though. They're
Bradley Beal is
yes.
actually going to play basketball this evening.
Yes, he's going to deign to play. It'll be. I think that's can only be. He's fantastic. I was just thinking as I saw the Wizards scroll through several times last night, that the Wizards are sort of like my beloved Pirates in baseball. They're almost like a farm team for other teams in the league. They're like a farm team that plays in the league. And Bradley Beal is freed from the binds of the Wizards, and that team, which makes little or no appeal to me, even though I recognize that they're great. They obviously can be a weird and wild force in the West. If Booker stays healthy, of course, and they're good. The Suns are good, whether you like it or not.
Is Eric Gordon still going to be relevant with Beal back?
Eric Gordon's always relevant because he's one of those guys, like a lot of guys, that comes in for stints, sort of in a Reggie Jackson kind of way for the Nuggets. Obviously, Gordon's a different type of player, but if you're hot, you're hot. And if you're not, you go back to the bench. He can come in at any point, score 15 to 25 if he's on fire. So he's always going to get his test drive. And, he's a solid NBA veteran. He has a role and he understands it. I think he'll be a factor. In fact, I think, where he is in his career, he'll benefit from Bradley Beal playing 35 minutes a night, because he should be playing less in every way, shape, and form.
Yeah.
Reggie Jackson, that one game, bro, the most scintillating performance I saw this year. It's kind of mind blowing when he single-handedly took over a game against the Hall of Fame player-laden Clippers and single-handedly led a heavily injured Nuggets team to victory. That game still blows my mind. That was just a mind-altering performance by that guy. It was beautiful to watch because, as a guy that loved Jamal Crawford, he could do that sort of thing, And then, who's the guy that played for the Clippers for years that would do that all the
time? It's not Jamal Crawford. It's not Eric Gordon. You may have froze up again, Bob. I'll tell you that Reggie Jackson game was a big game. It was against his former team, and I was very excited about it because I was touting him for some time leading up to that. And now we've all kind of moved on from Reggie Jackson. But are you back? Are you with me, Bob?
Yeah. Back. Yeah, sorry
Okay.
about it. Thankfully, they're only like about 5-second breaks, so I can put in another cough drop.
Hey, did you see what Julian Strawther did last night?
No, but I've been waiting for that to happen. I wasn't really the main game I watched last night was the Heat holding off the Hornets, because I like to watch the very unappealing aesthetic that is the Charlotte Hornets.
So Strawther,
Strawther's got the tools.
Playing against your Atlanta Hawks.
Okay, I saw the stats, but I didn't. I guess I skipped over the Strawther thing. What an easy team to have a best career game against.
Well, the Pacers are easier, but yeah, the Hawks are pretty easy. 6 3-pointers and 5 steals and 22 points off the bench. First rookie, I think, ever to have 6 3-pointers and 5 steals in one game.
That's pretty amazing. I mean, he was a first-round guy from Gonzaga, right?
I believe so.
Yeah. I mean, he's gotten a lot of playing time, in the first half of the season. That's one great benefit of being a great team like the Nuggets and being able to afford an injury or two and still win and get valuable time for your young players. I mean, I think like we've seen the same for Jaquez, guys that start playing regular rotations 20-25 minutes a game instead of garbage time because, one or two guys that play a lot of minutes are gone. And Schroder's a guy that over the last month I've seen on the floor a lot.
Yeah, I don't think I'm picking him up anywhere just yet, but I think he at least needs to be on radar screens. I'm gonna go ahead and throw him in my FanDuel lineup tonight and see what happens.
Yeah, he's hot. I mean, so he might get a lot of playing time. And, the Nuggets are one of those tricky teams from a fantasy perspective that when you get past the guys that are automatically picked, it's hard to gauge playing time. I mean, they are a very deep team. And, it's unpredictable. It's guesswork into who's going to have a game like Strawther had game, last night.
He could do absolutely nothing tonight. But then again, I like the fact that they're playing on the second night of a back-to-back. He's hot. They might want to get some guys some rest. Michael Porter Jr. was terrible last night, like 1 of 11 or something ridiculous.
What is it with him? Like, I've noticed that he's he's amazing at home and bad on the road. It's weird. I mean, that's the rule I apply to him. When I draft lineups,
he likes sleeping in his own bed, I guess.
I guess so. I mean, that is a thing, but it's pretty drastic. I'd have to look at the numbers, but just from my own personal experience, I've seen him play some awful games on the road. And I think he's one of those guys too that if Jokic is out, he seems he's Jokic dependent. He obviously is a shark remora for Jokic.
Bennedict Mathurin for the Pacers last night.
One of my favorite players in the league, baby.
30 points, 7 boards, 8 assists.
Love him.
He played well in the previous game. Before that, he's kind of been up and down all season. Is he a guy you're picking up in all leagues at this point?
I am, yes. I think he's. I think, and then unfortunately, it doesn't show up in stat. Nesmith is insane. He's a great player to watch live, but he's his fantasy value is always going to be low. But the Pacers don't play a lot of defense, but they do have guys that can play defense. I think we saw how good Nesmith was in the last few games in the in-season tournament on the defensive end. He definitely is their best one-on-one defender. And then, of course, Bruce Brown plays defense, which to me, that's more defense than the Hawks play. But yeah, no, Mathurin is incredibly versatile, inside-outside guy. And the main reason to sort of pick him up at this point is Hield, to me, has been an extended cold streak. I saw him play live, when he was just on one of his sick hot streaks. So I'd keep an eye on him. Right now, I think he's ice cold, and has been for a few weeks. Yeah, no, I love Mathurin. Mathurin's an incredible athlete. He can give you some. I think he's the kind of guy that would be useful on just about every team in the league. And there's not that many guys that aren't household names you can say that about. I can't see Bennedict Mathurin not having a significant role on just about any team in the league. Maybe not the Sixers, or the Celtics or something, like teams that are just so deep. But he's great.
Yeah, and I think I'm convinced after last night it's time to pick him back up. I wish the Buddy Hield and Bruce Brown things weren't there to kind of slow him down, as they do step on each other's toes a lot night to night, I think, and it's kind of held Mathurin back from just going off every night. But the potential's there. Mathurin's going to be a good player down the line. Ausar, go ahead.
No, you go ahead.
Ausar Thompson last night started for the Pistons. He's back. Had 20 points. Had a full stat line.
The Pistons played a good game. I mean, the Pistons are better than their record. I wouldn't say they're ready to have like a 500 second half, but I want to go see them in a few days. I'd love to see that game with the Hawks. But yeah, no, they are. I think that what are they? Is it a 16-game losing streak?
Well, they're 2-20, and they've lost 19 in a row.
19 in a row.
I think last night was 20 in a row.
Yeah, I think that they are. Well, I mean, it's the easiest thing in the world to say they're going to play better basketball, but I think, yeah, it's, again, that team is like where the Rockets were. They'll get there. They'll turn the corner. They're fun to watch, no matter win or lose. I mean, I don't even have to say win or lose. They're still a very fun watch.
Are you picking up Ausar Thompson?
I would consider it very strongly.
Yeah, I think he should be rostered everywhere. I think
he should be rostered everywhere because he's on a team that obviously can afford to play him as much as needed, and I think he's got certainly all rookie potential. And I mean, I love the teams like that. You know, obviously, where young guys are going to get a huge chance. Obviously, they're waiting. The Pistons fans that exist are waiting on him with bated breath, and he showed last night if that's going to be a close to a typical performance, he should be on your team.
Yeah, and the Pistons are making me mad because Jaden Ivey should be a star. Ausar Thompson should be playing 35 minutes a night.
Absolutely.
Bojan Bogdanovic, we know what he does. He played 34 minutes last night, scored 17 points. Like, all that's doing is you're not winning games anyway. So why are we playing this veteran guy that, like, he's not going to be with Detroit for very long?
Yeah,
let the kids play, man.
I mean, you've lost 19 in a row. I mean, and that's what their fans want to see. I mean, how many minutes did Sasser play last night?
I don't know, but he was really bad.
He's very hit or miss, but he's just typical rookie. He's going to be great. I couldn't agree more. And yes, Jaden Ivey, who I actually considered picking up this morning, he needs to play more. But I mean, yeah, definitely.
Yeah, but if Ausar Thompson's still available in your league, it's time, because he's not going to be for much longer, especially if they finally leave him in the starting lineup. Bob, we do this thing on this podcast called the Panic Meter every week. Like, who is scaring us right now? And I've got a little list. Some of this we've already talked about, but the Raptors, like I think you said earlier, they are worse than you thought they were going to be, or you didn't think they were going to be this big of a mess. Last night, like, I've noticed, like, Scotty Barnes is balling out almost every night, but OG Anunoby is not nearly the player we saw last year. Siakam's kind of been up and down, roller coastery, and Dennis Schroder is sort of like the key to the whole thing because he's the only point guard they have. But last night they played at the Garden against the Knicks. Everybody, all four of those guys actually played well, and they still lost. So what I'm concerned about OG from a fantasy perspective. I think Siakam needs to get moved as soon as possible. I think Schroder is better in fantasy than he is in real life, and I love what Scotty Barnes is doing this year.
I mean, I agree with every point that you made, and I mean, it's interesting because Poeltl went to that team, and I was like, wow, I had seen Poeltl play in a few NBA games, and I thought that it was good for the Spurs to move him. But then he came to Toronto and was completely rejuvenated and was fantastic the last part of the season. And I think he's back to just being a very average big. And that's part of the problem. I mean, you talked about how their only true point guard is Schroder. I think Schroder is playing just fine. He's as advertised. And yeah, I mean, the inconsistency of Anunoby is a big problem. Really, I thought Achua would be better. I had Achua at various times last year, and he was very useful. He hasn't been lineup worthy at all. He's had really just a handful of games. I mean, I love the guy. I want him to be great. And then what's the other guy's name? Boucher. He's a Boucher. He's a great athlete too. So they do have, if they can figure it, it's an interesting GM position in that whatever's going on from a chemistry perspective, whether it's a offense-oriented night like last night when the Knicks couldn't miss, or a defensive struggle, because they play both. They play games that, total points are 200 and total points are 260 like last night. There's no rhyme or reason to it, and there's got to be some sort of chemistry problem going on there. And I think, I hate to say it, but it's the thing that sticks out to me, and obviously I could be completely wrong because I'm just a viewer, is the Poeltl problem. I mean, Poeltl eats up a lot of space, and he slows an athletic team like that down. But I'm just being, I'm just going from what I see, and I've only seen him play a handful of times this year. But I love him, and my team's loaded with him. I've got Siakam and Scotty Barnes, so I've got the best of it. So obviously, I root for the Raptors every night.
Dude, that's pretty good insight on Poeltl. I was on a Raptors podcast the day before yesterday, and we spent an hour talking about basically the Raptors. And Poeltl's name never came up one single time, good or bad. And now that you mention it, I mean, he's just sort of like a forgotten guy. Like I don't think about him in terms of fantasy now. I don't think of him in terms of reality. And like he's just sort of there. I don't even know what he's doing.
He's there and he plays a lot. I mean, last night he played 24, but he usually plays high 20s, low 30s. And I mean, when he was on those bad Spurs teams, when they had some really good players, including Murray and White. And you could see when you watched them live. I watched one game where I was in the end zone, and you could see that. I mean, it was actually the night that Job quite famously posterized him. And I mean, he's a big guy, but he just on highly athletic teams like the way that bad Spurs, whatever it is, he's one of those guys that when the smoke clears, he always ends up on a losing team. And I hope I'm not hating on the poor guy. He's probably a perfectly nice man.
He's got a cool word game named after him.
Yeah, exactly. He just frustrates me. And when he went to the Raptors last year, I was like, oh, how weird. Like almost like, why would you want that guy? And then his numbers the first month he was with Toronto were insanely good. And now I think he's just back to being Poeltl. And I think that would be my theory. If I was, a season ticket holder to the Raptors, that would be the guy where I'd be, holding my head in my hands and being like, I mean, obviously not. I just think he needs fewer minutes. You've got a lot of very interesting athletic bigs. Now he's obviously the only like space eater and proper big on the team, but to me, he's the problem.
Switching gears over to Dallas, hot players that I'm excited about. Dereck Lively had a monster double-double last night with a couple blocks.
Great rookie. Definitely should be on the all-rookie team, having a fantastic in fact, this will be really they still do that at the All-Star break where they do the second year against the first year game.
We're going to find out because they're supposedly going old school with the All-Star weekend.
Okay, because I love that's a game that that's usually the night before the All-Star game, right?
All-Star Saturday, yeah.
Yeah, I would love to go to that game this year. I think it's an incredibly entertaining rookie class, and obviously with guys like Mathurin et al., it's a very interesting second-year class. I
think they're in Indianapolis this year.
Yeah, that's drivable. Yeah, Dereck Lively, he is great. He's been
he had a huge double-double last night. He looked really good, and he qualified for enough shot attempts to be considered for the league leaders in field goal percentage. And now he's the number one field goal percentage guy in the entire league as well. Because all he does is dunk. Is dunk. I think he should be picked up and rostered everywhere. I don't, if Dereck Lively is out there on a waiver wire somewhere, he should not be. So go.
I wish I had him. I mean, everybody could use a double guy who's got an incredibly high field goal percentage. And anything, does he block shots?
Yes.
He blocks shots with some regularity.
Yes.
He's ticking a lot of boxes.
Did you see Keontae George scored 30 last night with 7 assists?
No, but I think you can expect more of that.
Yeah, time to pick him up everywhere. Like we've been saying that for 3 weeks around here. So
yeah, absolutely. Another great watch. Just a fun guy to watch.
A lot of people have been panicking on Josh Giddey with his legal troubles and his lack of production. He had 12 points, 10 boards, 8 assists last night. If somebody panic dropped Josh Giddey in your league, I think you should probably pick him up. Any thoughts on Giddey Giddey and Victor Wembanyama? What is your takeaway on the Wemby?
On those two guys? Well, it's amazing. One of the best little pocket bets in the NBA I've noticed over the last several weeks is, and I include it in a lot of my parlays, is, and I'd have to look up the stats, but the Spurs are a great first half team. And I have no idea what's going on, but there's been so many times where they've been in the lead at halftime or a few points down and just gotten blown out in the second half. So I've almost made it a habit, regardless of who they're playing against, to play the Spurs plus the points or the Spurs straight up to win first halves, which is odd. I don't know. As you know, obviously it's not. It can't be that's one thing we always think about the Spurs. There's no way it can be the coach. So I don't know why they're playing so poorly in the second half, but they are. And I mean, Wemby is. When I've seen him play, I've seen him play 2 whole games, and he's obviously going to be. Incredibly, hopefully, I mean, as long as he doesn't have, some sort of unforeseen circumstance in the injury department, he's going to be incredible. But to me, he does have a very image. He's one of those guys you see it really in all sports when they're young, who sort of, kind of are growing into their frame. Certainly it's a very big thing in horse racing, which is a sport I've followed closely for 40 years. You'll see a lot of 2-year-old young racehorses that are large framed and very athletic, and you see a tremendous amount of scope, is what we call it, horse racing. And he seems like he just needs to fill out. It's not only logical things like weight and muscle and stuff like that. It's just physical maturity. So he's just he's pretty close to becoming a man, and I expect that sooner or later. I just think that everything about this year and him and the Spurs is a trial run. I think they actually start to build. I think towards the end of the season, when you see him string together games, very good performances, that then they'll start to build. But this whole year, this whole vibe with the Spurs seems to be like a trial run, and a trial run that's very much often on national TV. So whatever. I mean, he's exciting and cool. And who's the other one? Wemby, and who else?
Wemby put Şengün on a poster last night. That was pretty fun.
Şengün's been great. I mean,
Josh Giddey was the other.
Giddey. I mean, Giddey's a guy that I only heard of, and I saw play a handful of times the second half of the season. He's a very, very unique player. Very stylish and very skilled guy, and it's whatever's going on with him off the floor. It makes me uncomfortable from the standpoint. I'm just for what we're talking about. His on the court performance is, regardless of sport, that kind of circus, whatever's going on, it takes your focus away from your job, doesn't it? I mean, so I don't know what's going on, but he's got unusual gifts on the basketball floor, which is, what we're talking about. And yeah, if he was on my team, I would keep a very close eye on him and his minutes. And he seems like the kind of guy, if things were really going badly off the court, you would see, one of those many injuries that we don't really know what they are, like a subluxation of your pinky, and he would be out for 2 weeks. I mean,
yeah, I'm not that worried about Giddey. I mean, Oklahoma City's in second place in the West behind Minnesota.
Yeah, they're great.
It's really weird, and not everybody can score 30 a night for that team. Jalen and SGA are going to do that. Giddey's a true point guard, just kind of
he's a great passer. He's
holding everything down in the he's holding it down. So
yeah, he's a great passer, and yeah, certainly if you need his assists if he's on your team, and he can steal. He's a unique young player.
He is. He's a walking triple double if he gets enough minutes and opportunities.
Right.
So, all right, Bob. I know that during the pandemic, I bought some stuff from Broker's Tip Records, and I did something, and you sent me a briefcase, a Broker's Tip briefcase, and that is the official Alexander trivia materials.
Oh, cool!
Bag.
That's first of all, that's a very, very difficult or very entertaining trivia.
So we use that bag every Thursday night when we go host our trivia. But
those are it's a useful bag, isn't it? It's pretty unusual. You can use a backpack. Yeah, that was probably one of the best moves that Broker's Tip ever made. Essentially, Broker's Tip is just a little tiny record label that I run out of my guest room, and it's completely unofficial business. It's just a nonprofit, and what it is there's certain bands that rub me the right way that I think are really awesome, that make really great music, that really have never made much of an effort to be kind of part of the music business, that just enjoy playing and making songs and don't really ever think about wanting to be more than that. And the idea sort of started in the early 90s when I lived in Louisville, when there was a bunch of bands like that. And that was just when these bands tour regionally, or some cases tour nationally, or just play local gigs, that they have a piece of vinyl to sell. And I think I often thought when I was in a band, in the 90s, like particularly Silver Jews, like when our first record came out, our first 7-inch called Dime Map of the Reef. I felt like that kind of made us feel like we were a real band. Like I've got a racehorse actually called Range Life who trains in Arkansas, and she had her first published work yesterday, and that made her like a real, like in some ways like real. So I just feel like when that first Silver Jews record came out, I kind of felt like, whoa, this is like actually a real venture. So broker's tip, essentially what I do is I put the money up. I've got a guy in Wisconsin, Super Duper Records, that'll make you 300 or 500 vinyls real cheap. And the COVID killed us because we're talking about the kind of bands that when they sell products, they sell 80 to 90% of their products from the stage or t-shirt booths at their live shows, and like 10% on Bandcamp, So COVID was a disaster for Broker's Tip. I actually have a website that I've sort of, right now we're in a state of flux and we're not releasing anything, but we went on a run for about 5 or 6 years, and I thought it was going to be easier, but I just needed to devote more time to it. But Piranarama, Lucy Arnell, Infidels. I mean, I love all the music, and most of it's music that people will never, hear. But the bottom line is like it's bands that I love and dig their music and dig their live show, and I want them to have something to sell. So if somebody if you and I went and saw a band that we'd never heard of and we thought they were really awesome, then you and I would walk up to the merch booth and spend $5 on a 7-inch record. So that's the whole concept,
Give them something physical that somebody could take.
Yeah, because you're not going to take you'd have to really love something or love the design to spend $25 on a t-shirt after a show, but you'll spend $5 on a 7-inch if you thought a band was really cool,
Very cool. Very cool. It's sad that COVID slowed it down so much. That kind of sucks. Maybe
pavement touring and stuff like that. Yeah, we'll be back in 2024, maybe with an actual office. I'm in a little bit of a state of flux at the moment myself, but hopefully the smoke will clear at some point, my friend.
All right, Bob. Well, thank you for coming on. Stick around for just a second. When we're done, I want to tell you something. Everybody, This is Bob Nastanovich. Great having you on, Bob. Thank you so much.
My pleasure. Anytime, really. If you're in a bind or somebody cancels, call me up.
Right on. If you want to try a free RotoWire subscription, try it for free at rotowire.com/try. We are out of here, Bob. Thanks again. And I'll see you guys on Thursday with Rick Kamla right here at 11.
Awesome.